Hello and welcome to the Indie Game Spotlight. We're absolutely thrilled to bring two icons of the industry with us today. Look at that, Yang's looking confused as I say that, but I believe you are icons of the industry. And today we are going to be talking about Empire of the Undying Sun, which successfully managed to fund for its Kickstarter. And today we are going to delve into the first edition portion of it and talk about how that all sort of turns out. Because when we talked to Yang, when was it now? Back in December?
I think it must have been,
yeah.
December or January, somewhere around there.
Yeah. December, January, we talked a lot about the Empire of the Undying Sun for 5e. But of course, the other module here is for first edition, and we are so excited. So before we do a brief recap, can I just remind everybody, if you're not subscribed, please could you do so? Don't forget to hit that notifications bell, and don't forget to like, and feel free to leave us a comment. All of that really helps with the algorithm. So Yang, the first question is going to go to you. And that's more of a, could you, for our audience, just refresh them about what is Empire of the Undying Sun?
Empire of the Undying Sun is a campaign guide for a horror game that is for both Dungeons & Dragons 1st edition and 5th edition. It's mostly focusing on American style horror, but we have there's something strange in the woods. We have creatures from beyond the void. We have zombie invasions, pirate swashbuckling adventures, going to a continent where the main empire is sort of a mashup of the Mayans and the ancient Egyptians and Ottoman Empire. And it's ruled by a god who demands blood sacrifices. You have jungle adventures where creatures are waiting to devour your flesh. There's the howling deserts where you can hear inhuman screams at night, and ancient ruins where perhaps you'll find magical treasure or certain death. And at the end, you will have to make a decision which will alter the fate of the world forever.
Oh, sounds interesting. But at least you're safe in your dreams, aren't you?
Probably not. As there is one of the features that people like a lot about Empire of the Undying Sun is there is the dream realm, where every night when you sleep, your mind just goes into the dream realm. And in the dream realm, let's say your friend tells you, hey, I had this dream, and you're like, oh my gosh, we have the same dream. That's because you met each other in the dream realm. And you can talk to all sorts of people. You can talk to spirits of the dead. You can talk to gods. You can talk to people over vast distances. And it's great, except there are some creatures which won't be so happy with you. And those we would normally call nightmares. They may haunt your dreams, not allowing you to get proper rest. And they may even try to kill you in the dream realm, resulting in just a comatose body left in the real world.
Ouch.
And since there's an empty body, maybe something wants to fill it.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Usually that's bad.
Yeah.
I must admit, when we played, I really did enjoy it. It was really good fun. So, but we're not going to talk about the 5th ed version today. No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. We're here to talk about the 1st edition, 2nd edition conversion, or rewrite.
Did you mention second? It's a 1st edition. 1st edition.
1st edition. Am I going to get into trouble with Bill?
You're going to get into a lot of trouble.
Yes, you are.
No.
Immediately.
The naughty step.
Immediately.
Shall I kick off the questions? Because I know, 5e, 1e, Bill, there's a huge difference between the two, not just in mechanics, but in play styles as well. So my first question is, what was your approach to building the 1E version of Empire the Undying Sun?
Flip the armor class and remove mechanics assiduously. Essentially, you have cases in adventures, any adventures, because I've done this kind of work for Chris Clark. I've done this kind of work for Eric Garland and Heidi Gygax Garland. So, you come to a room and, it's a room where a wizard blew himself up with an experimental spell. You describe the room, it's 10 by 20. The walls are scorched. There's the burned remains of books, melted stubs of candles stuck to the wall, things like that. In a 5e game, you would say, if the players make an Arcana check at DC 20 or better, they can discern the school of destructive magic. AD&D relies on players to say, my character's a magic user. Do I have any idea what happened in here? And, you, the dungeon master, might look at the description of the room, or, maybe you've expanded it or something like that, and say, yes, you have no idea. Somebody could have thrown a barrel of burning pitch in here and done this. Somebody could have, flicked a delayed blast fireball in here and run. You have no idea. Or conversely, you might say, roll under your wisdom, or you might just say in the description as the writer, careful observation by a magic user, illusionist, or cleric will reveal telltale signs that a powerful spell was detonated here. Basically, you remove all of that. I liken it to guys who do auto restoration videos, and I see this on YouTube a lot. That they'll get an old beater of a car, something from the 70s, and really turn it into something you can drive and enjoy today. And they go through with a Sawzall and they take out the smog control and all of that stuff. They rip it all off down to the bare metal, so you're getting as much horsepower as possible. And that is what I liken to what I do. Is I take those steps of mechanics out of the way of the players, so they're no longer looking, Arcana check. What is my Arcana? They're going, okay, so let's see. You say it's 10 by 20 room, black and white. Let me think about what that would be. It puts their brain back in the driver's seat. And it's something that I enjoy doing. I like going through and flipping that sort of stuff to a more tactical thinking mode, rather than I'm just going to rely what's on my sheet and go from there.
Yeah, that sounds like a very sensible approach, in that it's the difference between analyzing the situation you're in and deciding what your character would do or how your character would approach a problem, compared to just being very mechanical and saying, will this skill help, or will that skill help?
Yes, exactly. Right. And then as far as mechanics go, there's hard mechanics, like, you encounter a were-rat. He's armor class 17 and has move 30. That's literally just have a copy of the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual handy. He's armor class 7. He's armor class 3, move 30. His movement speed is 12 inches around.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's there are some nuances, things I really it's not quite that pat, and Yang has done the actual real hard work on module mechanics, stuff like that. So he comes to stuff like, it's a an enemy cleric. Well, they can cast harm. Okay, it's cause light wounds. So there's a few little connections. You kind of got to get you got to get that gender changer plug, so the two wires will snap together as you go through the rules and do stuff like that. But that, generally speaking, is the easy stuff. The more difficult things, and Yang, you remember when you and I sat down and went through backgrounds, right? Yeah, we spent like 3 hours on a Sunday night, both of us, because I didn't want to start pulling stuff out of his new backgrounds for Undying Sun and be like, okay, here you are. I made a dog's breakfast of what you put all this hard work into. So we went through and said, okay, how do we match this up as close as 1-to-1 with first edition AD&D as we can, and keep his vision and AD&D mechanics. So it wasn't without some sweat equity, but it's moving along nicely.
Okay, and that sounds good, because of course, Yang, you brought in a talent system, did you not?
Yes.
So that melded very nicely with 5th edition, because I think it was part of the skill system, wasn't it? So
yeah, it was sort of layered on top of the 5e skill system.
Yeah.
So for 1e, it's more like backgrounds.
Right. Okay.
So that's what Bill was just talking about there. And yeah, that was one of the things where it definitely worked better when the two of us were working together, because there would be some things, it would be like, well, what if we shift it to this? And I would say, well, what my real intention with this one is, and then which, works very easily with 5e, but kind of didn't mesh well with 1e. So there are some subtle differences. There are some things that we had to change to make it more native, excuse me, to 1e. Yeah, so it's still there and it still works. I might have to brush up the intro to that chapter just to explain a little bit more to the 1e DM, like, okay, this is why this is here. And, if you want to use it, it's not a requirement. If you want to use it, like, this is my suggestion of how to use it, but use it as you see fit.
Okay. One of the big things, and one of the things I liked when we did our one shot, was this kind of disconnecting from your death saving throw, which is a big thing in 5e. Now, obviously in 1e, you don't have death saving throws. You get reduced to 0. And remind me if I'm remembering this incorrectly, Bill, you can go down to -10 and then you die?
You can go down to -10. Basically, by the book is 0 is unconscious and bleeding.
Yeah.
If you are not tended to by another player character, -10 equals death. Now, there's a caveat to that, and it is that if a single bullet, say you've got 10 hit points and you're struck for 14 points of damage, that if that knocks you to below -3 in a single shot, that is, you're dead on the spot. It's such a hard shock that you're just separated right there.
So with because I believe it was quite a big thing, Yang, it was kind of that sense of dread that you get.
Yes.
Has that translated across in any way to the 1e system? Or did you feel it wasn't really necessary?
To some extent, not necessary. There's a chapter I have later in the book, which is recommendations on getting the kind of game you want out of it. So, for example, if you want it like on easy mode or medium, hard, or I call chaotic evil DM. So I do, for the 1E, I do have in there, if you want to... like, you could make death right at 0. You could get rid of the bleed condition if you want. If you feel like it's too easy, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, 1E, it natively has, I should say, that sense of like, oh, no, I really can't get to 0. Whereas, the 50 rules is written is a little more comfortable. Like, okay, when I hit 0, then I'm going to worry.
Yeah.
As opposed to 1E, like, oh my gosh, I only have 3 left.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So You've raised a good point there, which is you had these sort of layers of difficulty you could apply to the game. And from 𝗬's perspective, I guess the native 𝗬 was considered easy mode, and it was taking away stuff to make it harder. Have you kind of, would that be fair, or would
I don't think it's necessarily taking away. It's just you're using alternative rules.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because if you look in the 5th edition, in the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide, there's already alternative rules to make it more difficult. And some of it is just emphasizing, like, use those rules instead of the vanilla rules, I guess you'd say.
So the long rests, the slow recovery, stuff like that. Absolutely. With 𝗏 being notoriously unforgiving for players, if I can put it that way, have you altered or provided alternate mechanics for people who might want the 𝗏 experience but want it in a slightly easier mode?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, perhaps some of the things. So there's a mechanic called the divine blessings. And what the divine blessings are essentially is you are a religious base character, like a cleric or maybe a monk or a paladin, or you just have some background that makes you very religious. You're a devout Saint Cuthbertian or something, but just a fighter. So you can pray to your god, and you'll get sort of like a mini quest that you have to achieve that promotes your god's aim, and they can give you a divine blessing. Now in 5th edition, since there's no death saving throws, if your character hits 0 HP and they die, as a reaction, you could use this divine blessing on them to just stave off death for 1 round. So you could also have something like that for 1st edition, keeping that in there, where if the character's going to die, the one of his party mates, if they have a divine blessing from their god, could use that and stave off death for 1 round. So that would kind of sort of make it easier, but it's not really, I don't know. It's not like putting the bumper lanes on your 𝗏 game. It's still going to be hard, and getting that divine blessing is not going to be easy. So it seems like a worthy promotion.
Yeah, and it's not that different from slow poison in AD&D. You can have a character die because of venom or poison or something like that. You don't have neutralized poison, and you don't have an antitoxin with your group, but you can hit that character with slow poison, and for a number of turns equal to your cleric's level, they'll live for that amount of time until you can get them to safety, or complete the adventure and say, hey, we'll pay to have you rezzed, whenever we can, but enjoy the life you've got. It just buys you some extra time to adventure in. What I'm saying is it's not an unheard of thing in AD&D to have something that again, this temporarily staves off mortality. It's just a little bit more open. Divine blessings just a little bit more open-ended if you incorporate it into 𝗏.
Yeah, fantastic. Would that? So I'm moving on to another topic, which is saving throws, and saving throws are obviously quite different between the two systems. I got to be honest, I much prefer the kind of 𝗏 approach, which is it's a save against a type of attack coming in rather than just what ability score would help you. Has there been any considerations to the kind of creatures that are part of the adventure bill when it comes to some of the difficult saves that you might have within 𝗏? So, for example, have you made any changes to any creature's abilities so that a failed save isn't as harsh, or is this the full experience?
No, it's the full experience. If it's save or take full damage, it's going to be save or take full damage. If it's poison and it's save or death, then it's save or death. If Yang and there are ample cases in AD&D where, it's, I think there's some breeds of spiders that like, it's save or be sickened, a perfect example, troglodytes, you have to save versus their stench or you're weak. It's not like, save or you drop dead. But in cases where, unless Yang otherwise instructs me, hey, treat this like a troglodyte stench or like a weak spider or something like that, I'm going hard in the paint. You're gonna save versus dragon's breath or take full damage. You're gonna save versus spells or be held. You're gonna save versus poison or die.
Yeah. I guess that feeds very much into the sort of horror aspect of the game, in that you're really not wanting to risk hitting an encounter before you really know what it's about or whether you can handle it. And even then, you probably want to avoid it at all costs if you can. More so than doing something like, I know in 𝗬𝗏 they brought in the long rest to try and elicit that kind of play. And a lot of players are still, in that your resources don't come back quickly. A short rest requires a full night. So to make the players a bit more aware of what they're going into. But I guess if you're playing under 𝗏, you have that mindset immediately, which is you don't want to do an encounter unless you absolutely have to. Yeah.
Right. It's right there in black and white in the player's handbook in the first index. Avoid unnecessary encounters.
Yeah.
If you can get all the gold out from under the dragon and leave him asleep, do it. Well, we should probably kill the dragon too. Let's poke him awake. No, for God's sake, don't do that. Just get the money and run.
And until you fall asleep, and then the nightmares come.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'm going to rest. Oh.
Yeah.
That could be nasty.
That could be. Talking of which, were there any difficulties in implementing the kind of dream realm within the 𝗏𝗏 mechanics?
No. I'm sorry, Yang, you go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, from my point of view, not really, because it uses stats in different ways from standard D&D to make the whole feeling more dreamlike. So, you have the same stats in 𝗏𝗏 and 𝗬𝗏. It's still the same 6 things. So it's not like it's already going to be a different experience for you than the standard game. So in that case, I personally wasn't super worried that a 𝗏𝗏 player, making it fit into 𝗏𝗏, because it already doesn't fit into a normal gameplay structure. It's something different, and it should feel more dreamlike.
Yeah, from a pure mechanics standpoint, yes, the vibe is different, but the mechanics aren't that difficult. They're really not. Gary made AD&D 𝗏𝗏 to be so flexible in terms of feel. When you look at stuff like the vibe of Forgotten, I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this, but the vibe of Forgotten Realms to me is very much Ren Fair, and then you've got just core AD&D. Greyhawk is very much Fafhrd and Grey Mouser. And then you've got something completely different with Dragonlance and just on and on, so I think something, what Yang's doing with the Dream Realms it's okay, bring it on. It's the AD&D is this big infinitely sized box of Legos. Sure, hand me another set of instructions. We'll build whatever with it.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. And I guess a lot of it comes down to who's running the game to make sure they give the players that experience of being in a dreamlike state, especially when it matters. Yeah.
And also it's really an optional play mechanic. There's only really one part of the campaign guide where it's spelled out that yes, you should use the Dream Realm. The rest is meant for players to use as they see fit. So I've had players they go through that part and then they never use it again. And I've had other people who use it all the time because they want to have communication with their gods, or they need to, like a spirit of a dead person would know the history of what happened here. And one group was enterprising enough that there's a sort of a trial situation, and they basically go on to be jury tampering by haunting the dreams of one of the jurors to make him vote the way that they want.
Oh, that's just awesome.
That is amazing. That's fantastic. Brilliant.
Kudos to that group. That's just jury tampering 101 there. That's just fantastic.
I get the feeling, Yang, that your dream world is try and make 𝗲 a lot more like 𝗏, and that you can do a lot more stuff without being shackled by what your character stats say and your character sheet says. And I like that. I really do. I can't wait to get hold of the 𝗏 book and have a good look at this.
It's very excited.
Yeah. We're moving on to spells, but I think Vicky wanted to do the spell questions, didn't you?
I am zooming in here because I love me spells. So when I take a look at the spells, what are the differences, and how have you actually taken those spells that you've got and translated them into the sort of 𝗏 sort of environment? Has that been challenging, or is it just like, it's dead easy?
I mean, the spell translation is fairly easy. There's a lot of the time, and this is something that I think Yang and I will probably sit down and sand off any burrs on, is a lot of times you'll get stuff that is a little OP for 𝗏 that you can either crank back or just completely subject. Like what is the big one now that it's Mage Blast. No, Eldritch Blast.
Oh,
like Eldritch Blast. I'm like, well, just magic missile, for God's sake. And you mentioned warlocks too. That's something else. AD&D, the non-holy spellcaster is collapsed into the magic user or the illusionist. So then there's some adjusting for that. But as far as like when you get down to the actual individual mechanics of the spell, as long as it's not too OP, like, Alter Reality is now a 3rd level spell in 5th edition. As long as it's not something like that, it's fairly easy to deal with. It's not super difficult. And again, if I find myself ending a snack. Do
I get the impression that you're hungry?
I'm hungry for adventure.
We're all hungry for adventure.
Getting a snag, I can just ping Yang and be like, I don't think we should have Alter Reality as a 3rd level spell, Yang. Call me crazy, call me old fashioned, call me a cab. But it's so. In the overall, it's not a bit. It's not like I'm trying to convert BattleTech to 1st edition AD&D or Hero System to RuneQuest or something like that. It is quite simply stop talking about range in squares or in 5 feet segments and talk about it in inches. Add verbal somatic material. Make sure it's level appropriate, and we move on.
Has there been sort of any new spells that you thought, I'm going to have to bring something new into 𝗏 in order to be able to deliver the vision that Yang has?
I haven't hit any so far, if I'm being completely honest. I mean,
Yang, go do more spells, Yang.
Wait more difficult later chapters.
Yes,
more weight. But no, I did actually kind of reversing the polarity of the current flow when I wrote Fairy Hill You know, there was a lot of, hey, Yang, how do we make this AD&D thing fit in the context of this? Because Yang, can I spoil Fairy Hill just a little bit?
Go
Not
for
the
it.
overall plot, but with the fairies in Fairy Hill, I went more for a even Dunsanian approach of fairies. These are not, you know, these are not 𝗕𝗶𝗹𝗹𝘃. These are not, you know, soft and fluffy elves. You know, these are things that will happily, gladly welcome you into a party at night and kick you out the next morning, and you're 102 years old.
Oh.
And they don't care. They're utterly amoral for the most part. And so recasting something like that in AD&D terms was a lot of fun, because, you know, Yang gave me a rough outline and marching orders, and then I sat down and wrote the thing, and I was like, ooh, would this work in a 5e context? And so, yeah, you know, we worked it out like that. So that was a lot of fun.
I like that, because I actually like that sort of danger aspect to it, and that's actually really quite scary. Thank you both for that.
Yeah. Talking of converting creatures, I'm looking now more at NPCs, because of course, Yang, your NPCs would be using the 5e kind of vernacular, potentially class abilities and stuff like that. And we've already touched on one of the things, which is the warlock, their Eldritch Blast. Were there any NPCs that required a lot more reworking to fit into the first edition mindset?
For me, so far, I don't want to say I haven't hit any. It really comes back to mechanics. I mean, you know, Bob the Merchant, armor class 11, hit points is the big thing. Yep. Yang, I think you'd agree with it, because again, let's go back to the Bob the Merchant, AC 11, speed 30. In 5th edition, that guy's going to be rocking like 10, 12 hit points, which is, you think, well, that's not that much. He couldn't take a single Eldritch Blast. In AD&D, 12 or 13 hit points, that's like a moderate 4th level fighter's level of hit points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a peasant in AD&D, which is what Bob the Merchant would be, has like 2 to 5 hit points. So there's little things like that. But in the overall, I'm finding that that it's fairly smooth going. I don't really see anything that's like, you know, oh wow, I've got to strip this guy down to name and have a 2-hour conference call with Yang about how we rebuild this guy to make a 1E character out of him. That just hasn't been an issue.
Yeah, and you know, to some extent there might be some. I can think of one character coming up, and I don't know that Bill has that chapter yet, but in 5e parlance, they would be a paladin. However, they're you know, it would be questionable, like, are they lawful good? So
are they human as well?
This person is human.
Oh, that's one hurdle crossed then.
Yeah.
So, you know, it might make more sense when we get to it to make them like a fighter / magic user.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, so it's simple things like that. It's the thing about AD&D is most of that stuff is already there. It's not like, you know, 5e is still very, even though a lot of people might not disagree, it's still very similar to 1E. It's doing kind of the same things, but expressing it in a different way. So if you need to go backwards, especially like the roots of most of the 5e mechanics are already there in 1E. So it doesn't take that much rethinking. It's more like, okay, well, we're going to use this thing. You know, maybe we'll use bend bars, open doors instead of like a strength check.
Yeah.
Or, or like Bill was saying, well, you have save versus magic versus like, a con save or a wisdom save or intelligence save or charisma save. It's in some ways you're still doing the same things, but it's in like just a different context.
Yeah. And I mean, you can use you got to give the context to players quickly, or else they start to panic. But you can use the saving throw system, for example, in AD&D to cover a great many things. Like, hey, I want to, you say the bar is too crowded and we can't, or the tavern's too crowded and we can't get over the bar. My halfling is Dex 18. I'm gonna stand up and leap from table to table to get over to the bar and tell the barkeep to clear off some spots for us. And I might tell that player, okay, give me saving throw versus death. And it's not he's not gonna die. He's not gonna fall on somebody's fork. It's save versus humiliation. Basically is the mechanic to be used in a circumstance like that.
Yeah. It comes down to the skill of the DM, I think. And if you've got someone who truly understands how first edition works, they can take everything within the book and then run it as a very effective game without stumbling over the mechanics or wondering how something should be adjudicated. I'm guessing if you had a 5e player who hasn't got much or any experience of the earlier editions, they will probably struggle. But I do wonder how many of them would have backed you for the first edition book to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It's very interesting because I have found that in general, it's more like an attitudinal problem between 1E and 5E players as opposed to a mechanical problem. Whereas because for various reasons, death is, once you get past the first 2-3 levels in 5e, death is so much harder than it is at 1e, especially depending on who your DM is. They have this idea that, I'm just going to go busting in a room instead of, if you listen to some old grognards, like, okay, we're going to listen at that door. We're going to check under the crack to see if there's any light. Do I smell anything? Oh, okay, now I'll try to open it. So
is there a lock? I'm going to have a look, but not with my eye right up against it. No,
I've got a
made
mirror
that mistake once.
But I think once you get the sense of, if you're a 5e player and you go to 1e, once you sort of get a sense of how things are different, like it's very easy to play. I mean, it's not like some people like to make AD&D 1E out to be this arcane, totally bizarre thing that you need to revert to, like a caveman version of yourself. No, it's perfectly fine as it is. It's a modern game, and it covers, like, I would say 95 to 99% of all the mechanics that you would ever need to play a perfectly wonderful tabletop role-playing game.
Fantastic.
Now, I'm going to admit something now. I'm going to get told off greatly by the Dungeon Delver as I say this. So
I'm sure it'll be fun.
I have never played 1E. I have played 2nd edition. I've played 3.5. I've played 4th. I'm really sorry about that. It was a great mistake. And I've played 5th. And I have played numerous other games, but I've never played 1st edition.
Okay.
If I was to ask you both, why should I give this a go? What would you say?
Why should you give Empire of the Undying Sun a go? Or why should you
Empire of the Undying Sun, 1st edition. Why should I pick it up and play it?
Yang?
Quiet,
You're a baby. I'm putting you on the spot right now.
So there's a few reasons. So let's say you are familiar with 1E. There really haven't been that many all new campaign systems in the last, since they came out with 2E, at least, let's say. So if you Castle Greyhawk, the world of Greyhawk is wonderful. Some of the earlier Forgotten Realms stuff is wonderful. But if if there's only so many times you can go to that keep on the borderland, why not give your players something new where it's certainly familiar, but like a lot of the monsters are a little different, so there's something new that they have to learn every time. The setting is new. There are differences in some of the mechanics, whole new empires and realms to explore, which, in my opinion, there really hasn't been that much of, at least for the last 20, 25 years. So that's if you are an experienced 1E player. If you are not, I believe this is a fantastic entry point into 1E. It's got a lot of variability for the DM. Do you like sandbox games where there's absolutely no structure to it? Do you want something that's a little bit more Dragonlance-ish? Okay, we've got you covered there. If you want something in between where players have a lot of agency, but the world is moving clockwork, and regardless of what your players choose, the main forces of the world move on, then this is certainly a game for you. It was designed to always feel like those old adventures that people would play in the late 70s and 80s, to have mystery and adventure and loot and the fear that death might be just around the corner. So if you want to do your best to feel what it felt like to play back when Gary was in his basement, then this might be for you.
That sounds fantastic, and I can now share that we have actually that was what we've backed. We've backed the 1E book, so we've definitely got that coming. So we will be playing, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I need to go into the garage and dust out our 1E books and get them ready. But yes, we shall be enjoying that.
Well, why aren't they already in the house, Dean?
Because we decluttered and we're
so AD&D is clutter?
No, not at all.
You think
not at all.
AD&D is clutter?
I had to put so many of my babies in the garage. It was terrible.
But they are very well protected.
They are incredibly well protected.
I personally packed them. They are in proper reinforced boxes, and the only reason is because we were planning on moving. So we had to actually get them out the house so people could see. So they will be emigrating back into the house. Now we're not moving again.
Yeah. And I'll be fixing up a proper bookcase behind so they could be truly put on display and actually pulled off and used. And yes, so we're really looking forward to that.
That is the appropriate answer.
Thank you, Bill.
No, but I want to address some. Yang, I think, pointed out something that is really critical, and this is not a patch on anyone at all out there who's doing their own stuff, but I think if you love first edition AD&D, there's no shortage of new modules that have hit since 2000. I mean, whether it's just little kitchen sink stuff like the freebies that I've thrown out there or fully produced stuff. But what we don't see out there is somebody taking the bull by the horns and creating an entire campaign world, a whole world that when you've gotten the MacGuffin, when you've slain the dragon, when you've driven the orcs off, it's like, okay, I've got more than I can develop. It's all. I shouldn't say it's all. It is largely modules, and what is so fantastic, and you underplayed it, Yang. Really, this is something you should be cheering this from the rooftops.
Absolutely,
it is a campaign world. It is a campaign setting as much as Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance or any of the others. This is something that should be in a 1 inch by 9 by 11 box on your shelf with a lovely fold out map and everything else. It's a thing that is lacking, I think, in this hobby space, that there's a want for stuff like that. That is actually first edition AD&D, not like, yeah, well, it's for my own system, but I guess you could use it. No. This is sit down, grab those 3 books, take this box set, and start playing. And that, I think, is something that really ought to get people up on their feet when they see this out there. It's not like, well, it's for DCC, but I guess with a weekend's worth of work for every adventure, I might, guys, this is first edition AD&D, and this is a first edition AD&D product that you can play with first edition AD&D rules. Or if you get the 5e version, well, then, play it with 5e, knock yourself out.
Yeah. For the first edition, I think this is important to state. If I'm not mistaken, Bill, you are not doing a conversion. You're pretty much building this from the ground up with first edition.
Me? No, I am converting it. This is something Yang gives me stuff. I wrench on it. I pass it back. We make sure that it functions as should, and then we then we move on. But I will say that this is, if I have seemed blasé about, oh, well, if I just flip the armor class, change the points and move on. I'm not saying, I don't want to leave the viewer with the impression, or Yang for that matter, with the impression that I just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just getting this off my desk. Let's go. I care about this stuff. I enjoy this stuff, and I enjoy reading. I enjoy, like, when I'm reading this stuff, it excites me, and I wouldn't have taken the project on if I didn't like the elevator pitch. But it is a labor of love on my part going through and doing the conversion, and I'm taking good care with it, because I know with Yang, this isn't just you know what, let me just pop something out there and make a few bucks, and I can get caught up on some bills. This is something that Yang enjoys, and I'm giving it the same love and consideration. But he is the creative genius behind this. I'm just the guy who's making it so it'll run on regular gas.
Yeah, fantastic. Yep. Sorry. Yeah.
And I would say too that lest people be concerned, what do you mean by conversion? 1E and 5E are not so far apart that it needs to be built from the ground up. If you had sorry, Bill, but if you had 5E and Call of Cthulhu, those are 2 totally different systems.
Yeah.
5E comes from 1E, so it's like, if you're speaking Spanish and you have to learn some Latin, it's not that tough because it's got the same roots. But when you get the 1E book, there are some modules out there that are converted where it's like, I could specify in the 1E version, like, oh, you have to make a dex save. It would make sense because they still have dex stats, but it doesn't feel like 1E. It wouldn't feel correct.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing is, if you didn't know that there was a 5E version of this, and you picked up the 1E book, I would want the people to think that, this was, 100% 1E from the start. And to me, that's the big thing is, if someone's like, 50 years later, they don't care about any other version. They only have played 1E since they were 12 years old, and, nothing else matters. They should be able to pick up this book. Everything looks exactly like it should, as if you had picked up a similar book back in, when did 1E come out? Was that 79?
It rolled out between 77 and 79. Yes.
Yeah. So, that's the big thing is, if you're laying out the money to buy a product, you should be getting the product you think you're getting, not like, I don't have IKEA style directions in here. This is like very, very clear.
Yeah, I think you've answered the question as I clumsily put it, which is someone picking this up won't see the origins of 𝗫𝗏 within it. They will think this is being designed and built for 𝗏, and not kind of have any 𝗫𝗏 baggage coming in, so they can run it just with that mindset, that 𝗏 mindset. It's to allay anyone's fear, thinking, oh, it's going to be one of these lazy conversions from 𝗫𝗏 to 𝗏 where they've just flipped stats. And no, this has been done with a lot of care, love, attention to make sure it has 𝗏 flowing through the blood, through the veins of the module.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say my attitude is, again, with consulting with Yang, if I see a place where I think it needs to be more lethal, I will make it more lethal. I will make it fit the, oh no, we lowered the halfling down, the rope went taut, wiggled violently, and then went slack. Let's not go down there. If I can have those modes and those moments in the adventure, and it passes the vibe check with Yang, then I will absolutely do it, to feed into that idea of again, this is not just I think we've all played video games, right? And the worst game you can play are lazy console ports.
Yeah,
it's like you open up the README and the damn thing says it refers to Xbox controller options and things like that, and you're like, y'all didn't even try, did you? That's not what I'm doing here. That is decidedly the not the direction that I am taking with this. So.
And the other thing too is, in my opinion, it's not a good idea to start designing modules or campaign settings with a specific version of a game in mind. First, it would be like, hey, is this place cool? Is this somewhere that I would like to play in the game? If, it's horror. Does this actually like creep people out? Is it scary? And then you go from there, and then you have like, okay, well, how would this work mechanically later? So if you have a good module, it should work. The core of it is already there. It's just finding the correct mechanics in whatever version to express what it is that people should be feeling. Like even a game like Dread, which you don't play with dice, you play with a Jenga tower. The core of an adventure should still be there, and you should be able to take that and then say like, okay, well, if I'm doing it in AD&D, like how would that work mechanically? And you still have that core. So it's not, in my opinion, the foundations are there, the house is built. Now it's decorating it to make it look just the way you want.
Yeah. So you got two decorators, one making it all 𝗫𝗏, one making it all 𝗏𝗏, but effectively the house is the house, and it's sturdily built on good foundations.
Right.
Yeah. I find that really reassuring. I've just got a couple more questions actually on my list. I don't know if Vicky's got any, but I'd like to look at equipment and magic items. So I believe did you add any specialist equipment and magic items into the sort of 𝗫𝗏 version or into the module itself?
Yes, there are. Some of them, well, that's a good question. I don't think Bill has seen most of them yet.
No, I have not. I've been strictly like there were a couple of instances where like, Yang, all right, this is a +3 sword, and he's like, let's crank that down a little bit. I have seen the mundane stuff so far.
So like thinking there's a group called the Zealots of Twilight, and they go around hunting magic users, and they have a pendant that will start to rotate if it's close enough to a source of magic, whether it be a person or a magical item. So there's something like that, but that's not really very difficult to convert into 1E. And then the blood of the nightmare, which is something that it's such a non-standard thing. In my opinion, it will work very well in 1E, which is the player picks up a part of a creature that it kills, and part of it could be the creature's blood, we don't know, goes into them, and now they have a tattoo on their hand that rearranges itself into constellations when the player asks a question. So, if they desire, like, show me where this thing or that thing is, like, it will give you a constellation. And should you know what that means, you could easily find it. But that's such a non-standard, it's not like a sword +3 or something.
Yeah.
So
talking of swords +3, obviously 1st edition has +1 to +5, and 5th edition has +1 to +3. Is there just a simple conversion? So, if it's a +1, or if it's a +1, it's a +1 in 1st, and if it's a +2, it's a +2 or 3, or and so forth, or has that caused a few problems?
I mean, for myself, I just leave it as it is. I mean, I know that 5e likes to top out at +3, but really, I mean, unless you're starting to hit, like, this module for 7th through 10th level characters, or 10th through 14th, or 9 through 13th, or whatever.
Yeah,
it's stuff in the above +3 range is not that common in 1E D&D anyway. So I don't sweat it if I come on something that's a +1 dagger, or +2 longsword, or whatever. Okay, it's +1 or +2.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to get fussed about, no, it should be +5 in this context. If it's if it's a magic sword that there's a ton of other stuff attached to, that's very purpose built, or I shouldn't even say sword, an item that's purpose built, that would be a pump the brakes, talk to Yang, see how he wants to proceed with this moment.
Yeah.
So, Yang, you do know that this means that the day that Dungeon Delver comes through and says, this is going to be a +5, you need to post about that, okay? Because we all want to know.
Yes, we do. We do.
I look forward to the day.
Yes, and Bill, if I slip you a tenner, can you tell me where the Holy Avengers are kind of hidden?
10 pounds is about $15. Yeah. I'll do that. you know my PayPal, dude.
Yeah,
shoot that right over.
So I've got a little question for you both, and it's a bit off topic because it's me. And the question is more about when you're doing something like this, and I think this will be for Yang first. What are the biggest challenges about developing this sort of working relationship? You're both having to work remotely. I don't think you live sort of next door to each other, so you can pop round each other's houses.
No.
Unless you do, when really it's in the other half of your garage studio there. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're finding with the sort of working relationship and arrangement? And what sort of advice would you give other people who are looking at doing something similar? There you go.
That's a good question. So for one thing, to an extent, you have to put friendship aside. Mm-hmm. And if you are going to hire someone, because this isn't, I didn't just say, hey, Bill, do you want to dedicate months and months of your time to funsies?
It's first edition. He would do this for pure fun. I know it.
Well, he might have, but if you actually want results. So, you have to consider it like, if your friend knows how to knock down walls and remodel a bathroom, like, can he actually do that? That's the first question. So you have to find someone who's expert enough, at least for what you're trying to get. That's number one. Number two, does the person seem to have a track record, B, the personality of someone that you can work with? That is the two main things. And then you have to come to a meeting of the minds of like exactly what I want versus, you don't want to leave a lot of wiggle room, because for one thing, I wouldn't want Bill to like be like, oh, I thought I was only swapping AC and hit points, and then like all this other parts of it is undone. And to the other extent, I wouldn't want him, putting in like 20-hour days for weeks and weeks for me to come back and say like, oh yeah, you didn't need to do all that other stuff. So you really need
being
to figure out.
explicit. Being explicit and making sure that you set a good sort of good boundaries on what it is you're actually looking for.
So that, and then you just want to talk to the person and you want to kind of explain your project and
communicate
what you're looking for, and then give them the opportunity to like come back with what they think. And part of it too is, I'm not going to tell Bill like, oh, Bill, you're so wrong. This is totally doesn't feel like 1E now, so I have to trust him as the expert in 1E, that if he says it should be this way or that way, I have to trust him with that. Now I can come back and say like, well, really my intention was something else, and then you both have a rethink and you redo it. But, someone you can work with, someone who you can have a meeting of the minds with, because I've seen that destroy a whole lot of projects, whether it be gaming or comics or, animation or whatever. So those are, I think those are the main points.
I think that's really well. And Dungeon Delver, is there anything that you think you should add to that?
No, I think Yang has got the right of it here. I mean, it's so funny because when I first encountered Yang, I think Yang was guesting on 𝗕𝗫 Finney's live stream. Like I was watching his live stream, and then here's this guy, and I'm like, okay, let's check out his stuff. And then Yang and I think that's the origin story anyway. But I mean, it was just kind of feeling out, like, okay, he's definitely seemed to got it in one sock, and we started talking, and then as time has gone on and things have things have developed, and I did the Rat King and Fairy Hill and the third section there,
Willow Sisters.
The Willow Sisters, thank you. My brain kept wanting to say the Witch Sisters, and I was like, that's not what it's called, Bill. It's the Willow Sisters. Would you think I would have remembered? That was one of the more fun pieces I did. But in working on those three, I was like, yeah, okay, all right, this works. This is not going to be like just like, thanks, whatever. And so, to quote Mr. Spock, we reached, Captain. So I feel like Yang and I have just got that kind of good working relationship where I can come to him and say, hey, I think this should be like this, and if he's like, it should be like this, we don't have to have this Simon and Garfunkel-esque falling out for 45 years over the placement of a comma in the thing. So I think Yang has said all the real concrete that needs to be said about it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that life is too short for beef. It's just not worth it, and there's nothing that can't be solved with a simple conversation. So I think that sounds absolutely wonderful. And Yang, I do believe that your Kickstarter is still open for late pledges. So if you haven't managed to get your mitts on either the 1E or the 5E, that is still all available.
It is. I am hoping, let's say by the end of June-ish, to have everything together, at least for the 5E version, and send that off to print. So sometime probably June-ish, I may end up shutting it down. Eventually, when I get all the adventure modules done, in addition to the campaign guide, the The website will be back up with, I'm trying to get a new version where you will be able to buy at least the PDFs directly from the 𝗕𝗏𝗿𝗃 website. And hopefully there will be a lot of good stuff for people who have already bought on the back end to make it even easier to play.
Brilliant.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. So guys, if you haven't already, go and check out the Kickstarter. Highly recommended. We've played and loved it. So as a campaign, I can already tell you it's amazing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the 𝗏𝗏 and actually getting to play 𝗏𝗏 for the first time. That's going to be good fun.
Oh, it's going to be brilliant. Looking forward to it.
Great. Well, I hope that what I create will be worthy of the praise, and I do not apologize in advance for the deaths of many characters.
we got a high capacity printer. I can print out a lot of character sheets.
Well, you know what helps with making up characters really quick.
By Crom, are you going to give us some information?
No, I think everybody who needs it has heard about it at this point.
I never think that I always think that if you've got an opportunity, go for it, Dungeon Delver.
We will, of course, have links in the description below. So if you're after first edition character creation software, you can't get any better than Crom by the Dungeon Delver himself. And I highly recommend it. I'm even considering potentially getting it myself.
And I believe Crom now has a working instruction manual for how to install it on a Mac.
Yes, that is one wonderful piece of news. Yang, he basically took a body hammer and some Bondo and a couple of wire wheels to Crom and made it work under Mac OS.
Brilliant.
Mac OS nowadays at its core runs on BSD, which is a Unix-like OS, and there's a tool for that called Wine, which it's now recursive, but it originally meant Windows is not an emulator. And what that does is it creates an operating environment that will force certain programs to run under Linux, Unix, or in this case, Mac OS. And Yang took the bull by the horns and said, no, I'm going to make this work. And he's written a guide, which I have included in the latest version of Crom as part of the whole package. So you can just go through there and get it running under Mac OS. No excuses now.
That is absolutely phenomenal. And it just shows what a fantastic working relationship you both have. I mean, look at that. That's just fantastic. So don't forget to get Empire of the Undying Sun. Yeah. Don't forget to get Crom. Together, a marriage made in heaven.
Absolutely.
And before we disappear off, I'm going to ask what I think will be our last question. So, we've got Empire of the Undying Sun. But what does the future hold for both of you?
Yeah.
Bill? Oh.
Me?
Well, right now the future is finishing Empire of the Undying Sun and all the modules and getting it out this year. And next year, after that, I'm hoping to start releasing adventure modules about one a month for the game system. So we're going to start seeing the game as written in the campaign guide starts off in a place called South Bay. And later on, you go to the Empire of the Undying Sun. But some of the modules will make it so that you could start in the Empire as opposed to South Bay. And things like that. Also, we'll be exploring more countries, more places in this world where your players can have adventures. But there eventually will be a sequel. I'm not quite sure the name yet, but...
So watch this space,
but it'll be a few
guys.
years off.
We will when you have your sequel and you've got that vision there, we will revisit with you so we can have a chat about it. And Dungeon Delver, what exciting things are in your future?
Right now in the immediate future, I've got the EggCon AD&D module I'm also working on. So, it's a kind of a daily thing. Just keeping the channel rolling. And I think once these two projects are done, who knows? I did hear the other day that the Troll Lords are finally going to publish something that I wrote with Gary about 20 years ago. So I'm happy that's happening.
Fantastic.
But there's very little work to do there. It's basically just blow the dust off the MS and send it to them at this point. So,
I think your biggest challenge will be finding those little floppy disks and being able to get them off and put it,
right.
put it on.
Fortunately, that was one thing. I was very, very. I'm proud of all the stuff I do, but something that I worked on with Gary, like I made so many backups of that. That thing lives on so many hard drives and flash drives and CDRWs and DVDRWs that I will not lose that manuscript. So. I think those three things are going to keep me busy until midsummer, and then I'm probably just going to coast into the holidays.
Well, hang on. I think you forgot one thing.
Did I forget one thing?
Preparation for the in-person con.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm getting some interference on my headphones. It's very interesting and poppy. I'm going to take these off, guys. But you're talking about no.
Dean and Vicky, certainly you would like to be in Florida.
Absolutely.
I'd love to.
I will have it in August/September. I will keep you people. No.
It's Dean's birthday in August. We need a birthday present.
Don't come. Let me tell you what. Come to Florida for the con if you like. Don't come to Florida in August, please. You'll what do you call it? Die. It's a little warm in Florida. But in August particularly. But no, I said because I'm stupid in 2021 that if I because it started out really simple. It was like it was so easy. I just thought I'll throw a cookie to these people. If I ever get 1,000 subscribers, I'll demo. I'll bring some people on and we'll demo play AD&D here on the channel. And people were like, and I was mentioning the Dungeon board game, and they were like, "Well, what about Dungeon? You want to play that?" I said, okay, I'll play Dungeon. Maybe I'll play Dungeon or I'll play D&D. And they're like, why not both? Why not just do both? And I was like, okay, fine. I'll take an afternoon and I'll play some game. And then it was let's do a games day, and then we can have other people playing online, and then we'll do and so it exploded into the GWOC, the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention,
which was great.
So I did that. I'm told you guys had a little bit of fun at that.
We did. It was superb. I have to say, hats off to you. That isn't easy to organize, and it went really well.
I'm glad it went well for folks. I thought I was in safe waters. I just said, I'll host an in real life convention if I ever get 10,000 subscribers. That's never going to happen. And then it happened. So yeah, I mean, but that's a lot of logistics. And realistically, all kidding aside, that's down the road a little bit. I got the 10,000 subs. I'm super happy. It is going to happen, but it's not like, don't have a suitcase packed by the front door, guys.
But it's there. It's ready. Oh. We're just ready.
We've got great convention centers over here. Lovely one in Wales.
But so at some point,
get some sun. What are you on about?
To be fair, right, the weather sucks here, so yes, we're going over there.
I will update people though as things progress. It's not like, yeah, well, I guess I said I'll do it. I'll do it at some point in the future. I will work forward with it, but I have a few other irons in the fire at the moment. So
understand. But congratulations on 10,000. That
Thank
must
you.
be one hell of an achievement. Well done.
And well deserved, can I just say? Absolutely
you.
well deserved.
Thank you both very much.
So thank you both for joining us today. We've really enjoyed it.
We have.
And I hope you've enjoyed it too.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.